every user has a home page that brings the things that are important to them or the things that they're working on into their purview, as far as things like conversations, things that require their attention, and even easy access to the projects and things that they're part of. But let's just start with that strategic piece that we talked about earlier on. And in that strategic piece, in here we've modeled objectives and key results for the strategy execution, which we are later going to align with other things within the organization and within this solution we have here for strategic portfolio management. For example, let's just say we wanted to look at this, improve IT infrastructure would be the objective. And we can capture, and these are customizable forms, so you can capture the data you want around this as far as what that goal is, maybe the time frame that you want to get this done, maybe the prioritization of those types of things, whatever method you have, and then the association with the 3 key results we have here that are associated with that. Now, just to kind of get into it right away, if we look to visualize how this particular objective fits in, it is a precursor to another objective that we have within there from a predecessor-successor relationship. But if we look broadly into what we call the runway, I can see that this objective is not only aligned with 3 key results, right? But I can see those key results in turn are aligned with individual projects and epics, which are aligned with also with different products that we have to get involved into the mix or consider, as well as applications, business capabilities, and in this case, value streams that we've identified. So once again, this is an example of how you can get all those different components we talked about in strategic portfolio management assessed into the mix. Now, let's say, for example, I see here we have a key result that's red. Right here from this very graphical screen, I can either drill into it or just pop open what we call a quick edit to understand the off-track nature of it and where it's at and what we have as far as the metrics in here to better understand where that is at any given point in time as we go through that. And the idea here is that it all starts with the strategies, and these strategies then should spawn off ideas, requests, and projects and efforts and initiatives that are all designed to support the achievement of these strategies and align this within the organization where we're all aware of what those objectives are. Now, when we talk about ideas and requests, OnePlan has its area in here for ideas and requests and ideation and innovation. For example, here, anybody in the organization can come in and submit ideas and requests if you like to open it up to that so that people can get those in here. And if I opened up one in particular, like this website redesign, if I come in here, you can decide what data you'd like to capture around these. Have an approval process cycle, data and elements and how you want to categorize them, maybe business cases that get carried forward should you approve this, financial aspects and the benefits, the prioritization of these with different prioritization mechanisms that allow you to get those in place and be able to have those factored in as we decide what we want to work on. Once again, on that visualization side of things, we could look at this website redesign and see that I have no predecessors or successors, but I can see that this website redesign is tied back and is a component of achieving this increased brand awareness and the key result within it, and also indirectly has a association with a product that we have to deal with as we go through that. So, once again, we have that visibility at all given times, and we can also see from here, should we decide through either workflow or somebody with the authority to do so, we can promote these ideas or requests as we have into projects or epics or different initiatives that we want, and carry forth with it all the information that happened through this whole process. So we get an end-to-end process as we go on through. Now, if I also look at here, you can democratize this as well. So for example, I could go into, say, an all ideas view, and you can put in a voting process, not just an approval process. Maybe you can get the idea of sentiment on here about how popular ideas are with the different constituencies that are in here with all that. And as you go through that, we can get through that. And this is a good place for me to kind of maybe show you something live from Sophia. let's just say I go to a prioritization view where we got all the prioritization data in here for the different ideas and requests on here. And I decide to ask Sophia a question, and I say, based on priority and ROI, there we go. Based on priority and ROI, what 3 projects should we approve first and why? Out of all the mix of things that we're looking at, what should we consider selecting ahead of all the others? And just help us, give its assessment there to augment our own perceptions of what that should be. And when it's done thinking, it should give us some responses. So it's saying the cybersecurity audit based on this high priority project, and it's crucial for risk reduction, ensuring the overall security of the organization. Voice integration assistant and the rationale behind that and why. So once again, live use of this right within the solution. Now, ultimately, the things that we select in here are going to become projects. And we would manage our portfolios in a way that makes sense. You can structure a project portfolio in the way that makes most sense to you. For example, if I come into a let's just say that's not where I wanted to be. So if I come into the project portfolio here, and we can structure this any way we like. So for example, as I come through here and I look at the fact that we have what we call plan types, that we have portfolios and programs, of which the digital transformation program could be one of them, and then projects and epics, and even down to a feature level within here should you decide to structure. But this structure, or primary structure, is completely up to you. So for example, here on this data analytics transformation, I've got an enterprise data platform program that's within here that has different projects and epics within here. And the idea here is that you can structure this however you see fit. Also notice that there's icons over here on the left-hand side, which we could be maybe doing the detailed planning data from Microsoft Planner or Azure DevOps or from Smartsheet or Jira or Microsoft Project for the Web or their Microsoft Project Professional, where you can see that there's only a Teams icon on some of these, which tells me that we're managing the details in here, the schedules right here within OnePlan's tools, but we're leveraging Teams for maybe additional content and collaboration capabilities as we go on through there. If I go through and look at this and have a variety of views, you can have views in here that are more financial oriented, etc. But we also have the ability to come in here and look at this in a variety of different ways. So for example, even though I have that primary hierarchy, I could come into, say, a complete summary view here. And in that summary view, I can leverage whatever categorizations or data or metadata I have and look at it in a variety of different ways. Let's say, for example, I wanted this summarized or filtered by business unit, what's going on in capital planning, for example. Or if I looked at, basically what's being worked on by which managers, I could go basically there and say, let me look at this portfolio by manager and understand what Bertram's all involved in and how his projects are doing. I could look at this if I categorize my projects in different ways. In this case, I'm looking at, business transformation and all those different things that are in here and where those different things are. I can go through this in a very flexible way as I go through. And as I go through the board process, if I'm a more agile shop and I want to do things like program increment planning to kind of decide and prioritize these things, I can work with these things on different boards and decide what my columns, what my swim lanes are. And right from in here, I can drag things in and out of different states or different statuses, or I can get the details that aren't on the card at any given point in time here and understand maybe why something is out of off track. For example, like in this case, on this market research, I can see that it's because the schedule's off track, that the thing is off track in general. And we also have roadmap views. So these roadmap views for more of those delivery types of focuses, we can look at these things and once again use the metadata, whether by category or manager or business unit or whatever, and have different events in here that we can use as markers to see how we're going to drive and meet these things across different events as far as, and this roadmap is created dynamically without you having to manually create it each time. Now, if I go back to the list views and I go into a portfolio summary view, and I just kind of expose all the data that's in here regarding all the programs, I could ask this right in the middle of my project portfolio or subset of that. And I could say, you know, just from an analysis perspective, and this is an example, and I could focus on this just to the data within my program or my transformation program. Which 3 projects are at the highest risk of failure and why? And it's going to analyze all the data that we have in here and basically gives us assessment of what things might be at risk and why. So it says, that red one, the market research project, is off track for both state and schedule. It's not progressing according to plan. It also has a very high budget, and it's only 49% done, and it should be more done by now. And then there's the brand management, there's the IT professional, IT project. So the idea is it's giving us this assessment on those things that we can consider into our decision-making process. Now, if we drill into any one of these, let's just say I drill into this data warehouse migration project. All the things we track about a project are all here. I've got the details page that captures all the summary information about this and the metadata and the way we want to categorize it. I've got work plans in here that allow me to plan schedules within here, track key decisions. We have things what we call work types in here. So for example, the schedule work type is giving me an overall waterfall schedule in here for this particular one. I might have a backlog that basically has an agile component to this, that I'm managing all the user stories and requirements and tasks and things like that that are in here. And then we can also track things like issues, risk, changes, and even track key decisions within here. We also have the resource capacity component in here that allows us on this individual project determine what resources we need, plan them in hours, FTEs, percentages of allocations, whatever it might be, and have this feed up into an overall resource capacity plan, or even feed into financials from a labor perspective, and then even capture non-labor things in here as we go through as well. So once again, those financial components are all in here as we go through here. And at any given point in time for this project, we can visualize from a project-centric way all the things that this project is aligned with. Now, the other key piece here is this global resource plan as we look at resource capacity. So as we're managing our individual programs and our transformations, as we look at the individual resource requirements and capacity that we have for individual projects in relation to capacity, I can come in here and take a look at individual resources and see things like, I've still got generic developer hours associated here with some things. I haven't put a name to this. So if I was going to say, want to find a resource to put on this particular customer experience redesign that might be part of my transformation program, I could actually look for candidates and find good matches for those that basically determine who might have capacity within that time frame. And as I look here, it looks like Toby Stevens starts having some green out here in that time frame where I look at, and I could select Toby if I wanted to and replace that generic with a named individual, or I could relieve it over allocated person on the up above part as I go through here. The idea here is that, you know, we can look at this by individual resources, see how it aggregates up by things like role, like overall developers and the named individual developers that are contributing to those types of things, and see how this thing rolls up into things like, you know, full-time equivalents that are required to do all this. And I can see where I'm over and under allocated at any given point in time. Now, you know, you could come in here and once again, have Sophia give you some assessment on some things. For example, I could come in and say, you know, what resources do I need to hire? You know, where am I short? I saw a lot of red up there, right? I could potentially go in and say to Sophia, what resources do I need to hire? And as it goes through that analysis, You know, not only will it answer this question about what I need to hire, I could even further ask it, you know, how many of each might I need? It may be a different answer that I might come up with from my human perception based upon what I saw. It seems I need to hire developers, and it seems that it's given me some very detailed things based upon what it sees in there. And it only shows the number that are available for me in that particular month. But if I followed on with this and I said, how many of each resource, I could follow on and ask it that question and have it quantify that for me as well. So in the interest of time, I think I won't go into detail on that one, but I just want to expose you to the types of things that we could do here. Now, the enterprise architecture piece, when we looked at the visualizations of how these things are related to other things, where did those come from? Well, we can actually have different portfolios, and here I'm showing multiple portfolios in one place. In this case, these plan types of enterprise architecture elements like products, business capabilities, applications, value streams, and even parts of the organization can be all parts of our enterprise architecture component. For example, if I go and drill into the application of a CRM system, for example, I can come in here and see the data on this CRM system and basically see what I want to capture. There's a life cycle, there's the metadata to categorize, there's a canvas with things like application vision and description and where we want to go with this. And then there's even things like work plan schedules that might have the release schedule in it, or the financials around total cost of ownership, etc. The idea is we can capture all that at any given point in time. You know, we could even come in here and, like you say, from this perspective, say, if I visualize this customer relationship management, I can see that there are dependencies that we have here, as well as I go in here, I can also see that the CRM system is driving, is associated with some key results and objectives, as well as has impacts on projects and business capabilities in here as well. So once again, that enterprise architecture, whether it be products or other things like that, we have those things and how they relate as well. Now, the last thing I'll cover functional wise is the what if scenario modeling. And that what if scenario modeling gives us the ability to select models, and we can create new models as we go through. We can create folders for different parts of the organization. So for example, you could create a folder for your transformation program. And the idea here is what you can do is you can select active and potential projects and or ideas, get it into the mix and say, I'm contemplating doing 42 things, of which some of them are already active in here. But then I can put constraints on this. Let's say I have real life resource constraints and things like that. So for example, I could come in and say, you know, what's the resource implication of doing all these? And once again, I'm doing this in a what if scenario, and I can see I've got quite a bit of red in here, meaning that it's probably unlikely that I'm going to be able to get the resourcing that I need to do all this right now, given what I have in the mix. Same thing with financials. You know, do I have the financial wherewithal to do all the things that are in here? And I can look in total financials or by period, whether or not I'm over and under allocated in financials in these types of things. Now, what I can do is through selection, deselection, or time phasing of these, I can determine, you know, what if I only had a $10 million budget? You know, by selection and deselection, I can come down and get the answers in here of what I can do. Well, what would be in versus what I would have to in order to hit that $10 million budget. As I look at this and I come at the dollars around this, I can basically see that I had to select, deselect, and time phase these things such that when I got to it, that I got down to a $10 million budget, or within a $10 million budget, at least within 10 million within the fiscal year as I went through this. Now, if I was going to look at doing it with a $15 million budget, I could run the same scenario as well. But in the interest of time here, I'm going to just go through and say, as we do multiple scenarios, we can analyze them and compare them with one another. The target budget of 10 versus $15 million. You know, what I see out of here is that for another $5 million, I can do 10 more projects, and that I can also, for another $5 million, project and achieve more, $20 million more in benefit to the organization for another $5 million in spend. It might tell me it's worth my while to go find that funding. And then I can do other things in here, look like a bubble chart like you're used to seeing, where you can see what's in and what's out based on prioritization score and benefits or whatever other things that you'd like to show on there, as well as being able to use our visualizer in another way. In this case, the visualizer in the what if scenario is going to say, out of the things I selected, what's dependent on it, or what are we dependent on that maybe hasn't been selected, to factor into our decision to see if we've overlooked something. So once again, a lot of things that we can look at in that regard.